Welcome back to the Threes In. Great to see everybody this afternoon. Kind of rainy here, so I'll sit down and chat with you for a moment. So, right after it was announced that I was going to be the squadron commander of the 12th Student Squadron at Randolph in 1986, my boss at the time, the DO, Colonel Ron Shamlin, came into my office. I was the operations officer of the 560th at that time. So Ron comes in, shuts the door, sits down, congratulates me and so forth, and we were chatting a bit. He said, now, Bob, he says, now that you've become a squadron commander, he says, you're going to discover enemies you never knew you had, and some of them are going to be friends of yours. Well, crap, I guess I didn't think much about it, or I hadn't thought much about it until then, and didn't really think much about it afterwards. I suppose I was aware of it, but I didn't really much care. Just kind of went about my business, just being myself, I suppose. At any rate, I come in my office about 6 months later, and this, I don't know if you call it drawing, I guess for lack of another term, was under my glass on my desk. I kind of looked at it and chuckled, and then thought about it, and I thought, my God, I am a sitting duck sometimes. And then it became really funny. I want to shout out to Dobie Gillis for drawing that. He took that drawing, put a flight suit on it, put a can of beer in my hands, and it was kind of funny. Then I got to thinking about how did I deserve that, and it became even funnier. I was not the kind of squadron commander to go to squadron or to the ops director of operations meetings and just sit there and go on auto nod. Yeah, we're going to do this, and no, we're not going to do that, and yes, we're going to do this, and that sort of. No, I wasn't that kind of. That didn't go well with me. I never was good at sucking up. I tried it a couple times, didn't like the taste of it, and I tell you what, I wasn't very good at it. Wasn't good at golf either. But anyway, I was the kind of guy that they say, does anybody have anything else? I said, well, not you bring it up. And everybody, oh no, what's he going to say now? So it was early on in my career as a squadron commander that the topic of snack bars came up. Now, the 560th and the 559th, the T-38 and the T-37 squadron, respectively, each had a snack bar. And to run the snack bar, they had a snacko, usually a junior officer in the squadron that was in charge of overseeing the operation. And then they used the coolie labor force we called students. The students were assigned to my squadron for administrative purposes and for academics. And so once they completed academics, then they slid over to the respective flying squadrons, but they still were assigned to me for admin purposes. Okay, you got the wiring diagram here. So anyway, I'm sitting in a staff meeting one morning, and that question, does anybody have anything else? I said, well, sir, I do. I said, each one of the flying squadrons has a snack bar, and they use my people to man it, the students. But yet, we don't get any benefit from it. Now, the 559th and the 560th were making money, I don't want to say hand over fist, but they were making a nice return off those snack bars to where when they had going away parties, they could fund the parties for the people leaving without taking money out of everybody's pocket. Whereas in my squadron, we had somebody leaving and we had to pass the hat, and I hated doing it. God, I hated doing that. So I just floated the idea. I said, listen, just as an arbitrary figure, let's use $500 a month is what they're pulling in as a profit. I said, why not, since you're using my manpower, throw $100 to my way just so we can subsidize our going away parties. And also we used a squadron fund if one of the guys' wives had a kid, we would buy some flowers for her. If there was a death in the family, we'd send flowers again, that sort of thing. And up until then, we used to have to pass the hat, like I said. Well, you would not believe the blowback I got from that. Right away, the 2 squadron commanders started whining. Jesus. You know, they think this is baseball. There is no whining in the ops officers or the director of operations staff meeting room, conference room. But anyway, they went on for a little bit, but I kept hammering it away. I said, well, listen, if you don't want to come across with $100, I said, fine. I said, I'll just put a moratorium on using my people to man your snack bars. Well, when they saw us serious about it, we started getting a few nickels tossed our way, and all was good. And then the bullets started showing up on the wall, you know, sniping every now and then. Nothing serious, but I knew where it was coming from. I still just laughed about it. And we still got $100 there for a while. That went on for maybe a year, 15 months, and then AFES. The I don't know what AFES acronym stands for, Force Exchange Service. It's the old BX and the PX. They got wind of this little gold mines that we had down in the squadrons, the snack bars. So they moved in with the vet. They used the vet as their muscle. And they came through and they said, your ice box is 2 degrees off what it should be. So we got to write up, and our microwaves weren't spiffy clean. So we got to write up. Anyway, after a series of write-ups, AFES was able to convince the powers that be to take over the operation of the snack bar. So they moved out all that stuff and then put in vending machines, and so that all went away. Follow the money. Follow the money. At any rate. And then they decided that Mr. Torres couldn't bring in his tamales anymore either, because that was not sanitary. Hell, they were great tamales, and he didn't charge very much for a sack of them. But anyway, they put that under too. But anyway, that's the kind of the story of the origin of the bullet holes next to the duck. Still funny. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of something else to tell you about today, but I'll save that for another presentation. Great to see everybody. Stop in for a hot dog. I've got a backdoor outdoor kitchen that I just completed, and every time I use it, it gets cheaper. Take care. This is Bobo Base Gear. Stop.